Hello, everybody, and welcome to another prediction podcast for Green Square Talks Battlebots. It's crazy how fast the season is already flying by, as we're already at episode 7 for this season. And yeah, I bring you another prediction podcast where I'm going to share my predictions for all 8 fights on this fight card and go a little bit in depth with it, as I have with all the previous ones. Talk about some of the possible outcomes I could see here, and so on. So, I think you kind of get the idea. Yeah, the last episode, despite how hard it was predicting lots of those fights, had a solid 6-2 record, which I'm very happy with that. Hopefully, I can get something like this, but some of these are really hard fights to predict once again, and I could definitely see, I could definitely see some big things happening in this one. So, yeah, looking at this fight cards, we got some big matchups here. I'm eyeing that main event between two top-tier drivers in there. Copperhead Infusion comes to my eye as well. Same thing with the return of like Ice Wave, Blip, Cobalt, Deadlift, Huge, all those fun robots, as well as a few newcomers whom I can't wait to see a second fight from, like Retrograde and Switchback and so on. But yeah, you get the idea. This looks exciting and so on. And I think this will be another terrific episode that we're about to watch. So let's go ahead and begin this, where leading off we have Bloodsport and Sub-Zero. And yeah, so both of these robots coming off of losses. Bloodsport took a main event loss to Whiplash, and Sub-Zero took a disappointing defeat to Shatter, both in the same episode and stuff. But yeah, so my prediction right now is going to be Bloodsport, because one thing that's really in question is how well did Sub-Zero fix lots of. Sub-Zero definitely had many more gremlins than Bloodsport did in their first fight. Like, for example, their flipper was not working for that fight, including even the few times where it was working. Like, it was not at 100% clearly, because, like, it only lifted Shatter like a foot up into the air or something like that, and not what we've seen, not compared to when we saw them flip Grabot, Sporknock, and everyone that they've flipped with that weapon and so on. But yeah. So kind of like how I see this one going down right now, Sub-Zero, no doubt they're gonna box rush. Like their strategy is probably gonna have some similarities to when they fought Valkyrie, either one of those times. Like they're gonna be box rushing, preventing Bloodsport's spinner from getting up to full speed, because Bloodsport's weapon has some serious power this year, because I think they did a lot more. I feel they did a lot more damage than Valkyrie did to that front plow on Whiplash, and that thing took a lot of punishment. So, but the big thing that basically, I feel Sub-Zero is gonna need to get either a quick knockout, like something similar to what they were able to do in the second Valkyrie fight, or I'm concerned that the damage is just going to continually stack up on Sub-Zero, because Justin Marple is a terrific driver for Bloodsport, as is Logan Davis. Both of them have some great driving abilities, but Sub-Zero is going to need to make sure that weapon on Bloodsport is jammed up as much as possible in this one, because if that weapon gets up to full speed, the damage is just going to start stacking up the more hits that Sub-Zero takes in that one. So that's kind of my big concern here, because the other thing is that the arena, like basically the arena really does not favor either of these robots in their own way right now, because Bloodsport's got less space to spin up right now, but Sub-Zero, I feel like their best shot is going to be fling Bloodsport out of the arena, which that's a lot harder to do now, since most of the out of the arena zones were sealed off. But yeah, I think Sub-Zero's best chances of winning this is either getting that out of the arena, or it's going to be hope that maybe some of those issues that Bloodsport's been having pop up, or make sure that Bloodsport's weapon is jammed up as much as possible and control the fight. but I personally don't think that's going to happen because I like Justin Marple's driving abilities and the speed of Bloodsport as well as the spin up time. Because, in my opinion, Bloodsport looked great in that fight against Whiplash. Like, there was no shame in that one because Bloodsport put up a massive fight, and that is why I'm planning on predicting Bloodsport for this one. I am going to go by a knockout, but this is one of my less confident picks here because I could definitely see Sub-Zero pulling this off because Sub-Zero is definitely capable of taking many of those hits and still going and so on. As yeah, they hung in there really well even in the first time they fought Valkyrie last season and so on. So that can make things interesting real quick. All right, let's go ahead and get on to fight number 2 where we got Cobalt and Ghost Raptor. And this matchup makes sense to me. And, like, not design wise, but because like the team behind Cobalt, like Brett Riker, Matt Maxim, as well as Chuck Pitzer from Ghost Raptor, they are all legends in the sport and stuff. And always seeing legends face off like this is always a great thing to see. That's why I think this matchup does make sense. Both of these robots are coming off of a 0-1 on records right now, where Cobalt took a disappointing loss to Fusion, and Ghost Raptor took a very close judge's decision loss to Glitch that I personally feel they should have had, but it it was that close enough to where it doesn't matter to me. Like, I could definitely see where the judges were going with that. All right, so in terms of my predictions right now, it's going to be Cobalt because I think Ghost Raptor's only shot of taking this one is if they can flip Cobalt, like what Fusion was able to do in the end. But that's not going to be an easy task. But of course, the big thing that I'm really nervous about with this prediction is Cobalt really did not look that great in the fight with Fusion. Because, like, yes, the weapon was spinning at dangerous speeds, as it has in the past. But the problem is like it was slow and stuff. And also the reach of that vertical spinner were both problems for Cobalt in that fight with Fusion. And well, they're not going to be able to fix the reach things that easily. Basic, basically, the speed they could possibly change that up because that's one of the reasons why Cobalt was so menacing and like, but but yeah, Cobalt's definitely going to rely on winning the ground game in this one. I got confidence they can do that one, and this is probably one of my more confident picks where I'm going to predict Cobalt for this one, as I think Cobalt's going to win this one and dominate it throughout. I got confident that Matt Maxim's driving is going to be better than what it was in the Fusion fight. Not that I feel he really could have done much about it because there were so many gremlins with Cobalt in that one, but yeah, this one's definitely going to come down to who can fix the gremlins and stuff from their first fight. Because, like, Ghost Raptor did lose their weapon very early in that fight with Glitch. But we'll find out. This should be an excellent match. And yeah, I can't wait for it. All right, next up, we got Ice Wave and Deadlift. So, Ice Wave is coming off of a quick defeat against Black Dragon. Deadlift took a relatively close judge's decision loss to Jackpot in their first fight. So yeah, yeah. But, so Pori's gonna be happy with me, but this is one of my bigger takes on the episode. I am actually gonna pick Deadlift for this one, as yeah, because the big weakness with Ice Wave is if they get flipped over, it's all over for Ice Wave. They can't self-right unless if they get help from their opponent, of course. And Deadlift is a Deadlift. I hope they do not go with the clamping arm because otherwise I might regret this take instantly because that clamping arm I think would just help Ice Wave more than it would help Deadlift and stuff. I hope they come in with a similar configuration to what they did with Jackpot. But but yeah, so yeah, if you didn't watch that video that Icewave posted onto their Facebook, Icewave revealed that their new drive system that they used against Black Dragon had several different flaws to it, which is what really costed them their movement in that fight with Black Dragon. And so they're moving to the older system, the system they used when they fought Scorpios and Bounty Hunters last season. But But yeah, I'm leaning towards deadlift here because deadlift is almost certainly gonna box rush, and that front might be like perfect design to like get underneath Ice Wave and get the flip they needed. And if deadlift can accomplish that task, I think they can win this fight. Hey, definitely. But yeah, it might also come down to deadlift's durability because they did lose drive probably around halfway to 2/3 of the way through that match with Jackpot, and then lost drive completely in like the last 20 seconds of the fight and stuff. Including I have a wicked deadlift part that I've shown off in a few podcasts so far, and Pori and I will almost certainly be showing off our deadlift parts in the next podcast, and so on. So yeah, my plan is to predict deadlift here, and yeah, this is another pick that's not very confident and probably my bit. Probably my. You can make an argument for one of the other takes I'll be making in this one, but I personally think this is one of my bigger takes on this episode. So yeah. All right. Next up, we got Blip and Overhaul, and yeah, so Blip is coming off of a very dominant victory over Rusty, and then Overhaul is coming off of a little bit of a disappointing loss to Ribot, and yeah, so I was kind of hoping for maybe a bigger test. Well, like I'm gonna rephrase that differently because that did not come out right. Basically, what I was hoping, because like Overhaul is a reasonable test. What I was hoping for was that Blip would get a spinner robot in order for us to get a test of its durability, because that's something that's really in question for me right now. How well can Blip take hits from spinners and stuff, which we don't really know. Oh, since they fought Rusty in the last one, and Rusty, I'm pretty sure, is not a spinner bot. But but yeah, they got Overhaul, who is another control bot. So kind of how I see this one going down, this is a driving match, and this is a battle for low ground. Whoever can accomplish those tasks, I feel is going to win this fight. And right now, I am thinking Blip. And yes, that is my prediction for this one. So yeah. So kind of how I see this one going down, driving match, as I've said already. Like Aaron Hill and Charles Guam are both terrific drivers. Like they could definitely win this driving match. But I personally am concerned for Overhaul's durability. While this isn't a spinner bot like what they fought in their first one, is it possible that too many big flips from like Blip could kill Overhaul's drive system? That is the big thing I'm concerned about, and one of the reasons why I'm planning to pick Blip for this one, because I personally feel like the second Blip gets underneath Overhaul and starts launching Overhaul into the air and stuff, I think that could be some serious problems for Overhaul here, and I think I'm gonna pick Blip by a knockout in this one, but yeah. So yeah, my pick's Blip. Let's go ahead and get on to the next one where we got Huge and Retrograde. So this one, I actually was having a really hard time predicting this one. And so I'll first say, yeah, it's like Huge is coming off of a disappointing loss to Riptide, and then Retrograde's coming off of a victory against Rampage, a reasonable showing where we got to see action from both weapons of theirs, with that lifter and as well as the undercutter on the backside. Here is why I had such a hard time predicting this one. Like, if Retrograde leads in with the lifter, like, Huge is going to bend those forks pretty easily. But the thing that makes me wonder is, what about the undercutter on Retrograde? Like, I personally am, like, is it possible for the undercutter to maybe do some damage to those wheels? Because, like, while they definitely can't pluck apart the wheels like what Ice Wave did to Huge in 2018, they could definitely hit the bottom part of the wheels. And we know they have those black bits like on the outside of the wheels, which they use for traction. And we know that when Whiplash peeled off a lot of that stuff when they fought them the second time around, as well as Malice, I'll add the Malice to that too, because I know they did a little bit of that. Like, Huge is gonna have a lot of trouble with mobility, and it'll be harder for Jonathan Schultz to control Huge, which is why I was having such a hard time with this one. Like, my prediction is still going to be Huge, but I think this could be a much closer fight than what a lot of people might imagine. Like, yeah, like, I think the undercutter on retrograde could do some serious damage to the wheels on Huge that could possibly affect Huge's mobility and the ability to control Huge, based off of the reasons that I mentioned. But of course, the reason why I'm going Huge and not like going with a big take, another big take, and picking retrograde is one thing we don't know so far is like the durability of Retrograde. Like, sure, Retrograde did come from the team that made Bloodsport and stuff, as they're another group involving that. But we haven't seen them take hits from a spinner bot yet, because like they did fight Rampage, who is a vertical spinner, but Rampage didn't land a shot on them in that one, because Retrograde won the ground game and flipped them immediately in that one. Like, we haven't seen them take hits from the spinners yet, so we don't know a lot about their durability. Well, the team is definitely well known for their durability based off of Bloodsport's success in terms of that over the past few seasons. We don't know a lot about that with Retrograde, and that could definitely be a key factor to take into consideration here. So, I'm planning to predict Huge by a knockout, but I do think it's going to be closer than what a lot of people think, so this one will be interesting. All right, next up, we got Copperhead Infusion, and this is one I've been looking for. This is one, like, we saw this in the trailer, like, we knew this one was going to happen. This is one I'm looking forward to and stuff, mostly because, like, I think this is a real test for this is a real test for Fusion to see if Fusion is legit this year, or if we're gonna see them explode or something like that, or possibly see Copperhead absolutely dismantle Fusion. So, but Copperhead is definitely a great test for Fusion and stuff, and then as well Copperhead too, because like I think preparing for Fusion is not an easy task. Donald Hudson mentioned that in the first episode of this season, how new technology like Fusion, for example, where there's a horizontal spinner and a vertical spinner, makes Fusion really difficult to prepare for. So, yeah. And yeah, in terms of my prediction, this is the one I mentioned where you could make an argument for why this might be my bigger take, because I'm going to go Fusion with this one. But this one really could go either way. Like, I think this is probably my least confident prediction in this entire fight card, because like one of my concerns is like Fusion's probably gonna go with the horizontal for this one, because while they did win their last fight against Cobalt with the vertical spinner, ground game advantage is going to be key with this one. And I feel Copperhead has the lower ground, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I could definitely see Fusion having that because Fusion's got low ground too. Like my big point for that is the fact that they were constantly having trouble with the floor last season just because of lots of that low ground and stuff. But yeah, Copperhead's also coming off of such a dominant victory against Lockjaw. Well, I shouldn't exactly say dominant because like Pori was definitely right in the Copperhead and Lockjaw fight where they did lose drive in the last, I think, last minute to 30 seconds of the fight after Donald Hudson struck a drive belt on Copperhead, causing that to happen and stuff. But yeah, I think Fusion's probably going to come in. Sorry, excuse me. But but yeah, I feel like Fusion's probably gonna come in with the horizontal for this one. Try to land some of those hits, because like while Copperhead did take hits very well against Gigabyte last season, despite on their second fight losing drive, and stuff. But I feel like maybe striking like an Axel or something like that might be a wise strategy for Fusion, which is kind of like what I'm leaning towards here. But my biggest concern is not really Copperhead winning the ground game and doing serious damage with that drum spinner. It's Fusion's reliability. Because, like, while it did look great in the Cobalt fight, is we didn't see it gyro at all, and it didn't explode within like a minute into the fight. Could some of those gremlins pop up for this fight? Could we see another fire in Fusion's system again? Hopefully not, but this could definitely be the case, and that'd be a serious game changer if something like that happens. And yeah, so that's what makes this one really hard to call, just because we don't know a lot about that with Fusion. But if Fusion takes this one, like they're definitely gonna make a big name for themselves in this one, because like Copperhead is a legit robot. Like it's been that like they definitely like they came out swinging pretty well in the 2019 season and did a great job there. A pretty good rookie season. Last season they did great. Like despite losing in the top 32 to Mammoth, Copperhead looked great after last season. And then they look even better this season because that win against Lockjaw was solid. But yeah, so my plan is to predict Fusion for this one. I could definitely see this one going the other way. So yeah. All right, next up we got Switchback and Slammo. I'm going into the YouTube exclusive fight. If this is your first if this is your first prediction podcast, I always end things with the main event. But for the YouTube exclusive fight, we have Switchback and Slammo. Switchback coming off of a disappointing loss to Gruff, where we didn't see the lifting arm like go in action that much, mostly because they did mention in a social media post that was a gearbox failure and stuff. Like it was working in the test box right before bringing it into the arena for the fight with Gruff, but then at that point, it wasn't working for them when the fight began, and that is what costed them their ability to self-right in that match with Gruff. Their opponent is Slammo, who is coming off of a loss to Hypershock in that one, where yeah, Craig Danby just really struggled just to be able to do much about that, because keeping up with Will Bales and Hypershock is not an easy task, and Craig Danby was definitely having issues with that. But this one is another one where I'm really uneasy on who to go for this one. But I personally am predicting this is either going to be a boring push fight or it's going to be a quick KO, just knowing the past few YouTube exclusive fights. Because, like, yeah, like in the last one, we saw Deep Sticks get stuck into the kill slots. We saw Valkyrie one-shot Triple Crown. We saw Retrograde get a quick flip on Rampage, and that was it. Like, I'm very concerned about the quality of this fight, just knowing the quality of the past few YouTube exclusive fights, but I hope we get a good showing from either of these two robots, because like I'd love to see a suplex from Slammo on a robot like Switchback, and I'd like to see Switchback like land an overhead attack with that drum spinner. I think that'd be wicked to see, and so on. So yeah. My prediction is actually going to be Switchback for this one. I'm going to give Switchback a shot at this one. But like I said, like this one really could go either way and stuff. Like I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on on this pick. Like nor am I 100% confident on any of these picks. Like this is one of my less this is this is probably the second least confident pick that I'll be making on this entire fight card, cuz like yeah, because like we don't know too much about the potential of Switchback. Same thing with Slammo, because pretty much like in the fight with Hypershock, they were just taking hits after hit. They were just taking hit after hit until they lost drive, basically. And so I hope we get to see a good showing from both of these two robots in their next fight. And yeah, I think you get the idea there. The plan is to give the rookie a shot at this one, but this one could go either way. All right, let's end it with the main event here, where we got Whiplash and Scorpios. So yeah, so it was revealed to Battlebots supporters that Whiplash and Scorpios was going to be happening last week, and including Diane, the weapon operator of Scorpios, brought a social media post into the Battlebots supporter group, revealing their strategy for this fight. And personally, I was already saying Whiplash was going to take this one, but after seeing that post, I'm less sure about this one, because basically what Scorpio's strategy appears to be is, in terms of the weapon, they're gonna go with the weapon we saw them use in many of their fights from last season and stuff, like yeah, Tombstone, Perfect Phoenix, I believe Witch Doctor as well, and so on. But yeah, mostly because like they're concerned that the blade they used against Blade, they're not sure if they'll be able to self-right if they use the T-Rex blade, or the hammer saw is what I'd probably describe it a little as. And so they're going with the spinner design we've seen them use many times in past seasons. But then while that But then the more interesting thing is their front this time, because it's a little different from what we've seen in the past. Because like pretty much they're going for ground game with this one. Because like their front armor basically has like a similar look. It's just that it's got ground game up on the front, and that's kind of the idea of what they're going for. So what I'm predicting here is I'm predicting we see a 3-minute driving match between these two, because while Scorpios and Whiplash do have weapons that are definitely capable of doing damage, I'm not sure about the knockout potential of either of those two. Ooh, and so that's kind of what's leaning me towards thinking this is going to be a driving battle. Who can win the ground game? Who can push around the other for more often in the fight? And who can cause the most damage? And basically what I think weapon in terms of weapon power, I'd probably lean towards Whiplash with that one, but I wouldn't be but I could definitely see Scorpios as well. No. And then driving Whiplash hand I like Whiplash almost certainly cuz like Zach Lytle is definitely a great driver. Do not get me wrong on that. Like this is not something where like Whiplash would absolutely dominate the driving match. Whiplash is up against a not very good driver. That's false. Zach Lytle is a great driver and stuff. But I'm not sure if he's at the level that Matt Vasquez is at in terms of his driving abilities, but I'd love to see him outdrive Matt Vasquez. I think he definitely could do it. He's very capable of it. And then in terms of who can win the ground game and overall then have more push power because of it, that one really could go either way because of Scorpios' front armor configuration. And I don't think Whiplash is going to be, even if Whiplash wins the ground game, I'm not sure if they'll be able to bend the front on Scorpios to where they could get underneath them every time and stuff. Like, I'm not sure if they have the weapon power. Plus, Scorpios' front armor is thick and stuff. It's not going to be easy for Whiplash to bend all that stuff and get through it with their vertical spinner. So, but this should be an interesting one. I'm leaning towards Whiplash for this one. I think Whiplash will win this fight, but I'm not confident about it. I'm definitely less confident than what I was than when I first saw that this main event was happening, but after hearing Scorpios' strategy, I'm less confident about that prediction and definitely could see Scorpios taking this one. So, yeah, I'm predicting Whiplash by a judge's decision here. I think this fight's going to go the full 3 minutes because both of these robots are well known for their durability and stuff. So, I think that probably about covers it. Let's go ahead and review my predictions for this. All right. So yeah, here are my predictions where I picked Bloodsport, Cobalt, Deadlift, Blip, Huge, Fusion, Whiplash, and Switchback. Be sure to reply down below with what your predictions are. I highly doubt you agree with every single one of my takes on this fight card, and I completely respect that because like I said, several of these were so hard to pick. And so many of these I feel are like it's like a 50-50 chance. They really could go either way. So yeah, thanks for checking out this podcast. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. The plan is to do another episode review podcast with the group as I usually do. So yeah, thanks for checking this out, and I will hopefully see you for the next podcast.